Okay, so I'm going to be responding to an article on romper.com titled 10 Lessons That All Pro-Gun Control Moms Hope to Teach Your Kids. Alright, so I'm sending a link to this video to the author of this article, and Danielle Campo Moore, I believe the name is. I hope you're watching. Maybe you can actually take something from this video and actually finally understand where people are coming from on the gun rights side. There's no denying that gun control is a passionate, heated topic of debate in this country. Obviously, you've got on the gun control side generally emotionally charged people who don't know about firearms, who don't know what the firearm laws are, but yet somehow seem to just know that we need more restrictions. And on the gun rights side, you have those of us who know these restrictions are abject failures at stopping crime, and some of us are actually very well invested in the firearm ownership and the legal ability to own firearms. So yeah, I mean, you're going to have people who, obviously like me, who spent tens of thousands of dollars on firearms, ammunitions, and firearm accessories. Yeah, we're going to be pretty well invested on this. So yes, it's going to be a heated topic of debate. President Obama has highlighted a gun control plan in the past. Yeah, a gun control plan that at best will do nothing to stop crime or gun violence. At worst, will deprive other citizens of a tool that they could use to protect themselves and, quite frankly, liberty. Now, he goes on to say, numerous statistics prove that guns are a major problem in this country. You know what? I'm not even clicking on that link. First off, you can cherry pick data to prove, or well, not to prove even, but just put the illusion out, any illusion you want. Certain groups of people, such as gun control activists, are very apt to do so. Feminists are very apt to sit there and cherry pick surveys from the Census Bureau that only include the gender and the overall average pay for each gender, and say that that proves that women are getting paid the less to do the exact same work, when you take that number and realize it only accounts for averages among each gender. It doesn't account for the choices made in life, or career choices, more precisely, and that gender pay gap falls apart. But that's a little off topic. But the fact of the matter is, when you look at overall crime statistics, as well as all these state, local, and federal gun control laws, and pair those two together, you will find that at best, gun control is ineffective at stopping crime, even gun crime, and at worst, it deprives law-abiding citizens of the tools they need that could give them a chance to protect themselves, to save the lives of themselves and their loved ones, as opposed to sitting by helplessly while either themselves or their loved ones are murdered. And not to mention, you're taking away liberty. You're depriving law-abiding citizens of their option to exercise a right. So yeah, there's a problem with that. What you won't find when you look at all this is you will not find a correlation between gun laws, gun ownership, and gun crime. So you don't even have a correlation to go off of. All right, so go on to say more and more moms are pro-gun control. Okay, you notice how you say more and more moms. You don't say more and more law enforcement officers. You don't say more and more servicemen or more and more vets. You immediately jump to the emotional appeal, which proves a further point. Well, I shouldn't say proves beyond all reasonable doubt, but it does kind of start to indicate what I'm saying about gun control activists being more and more emotional on the issue, or being emotional on the issue to begin with. Moreover, how does being a mom qualify you to decide what the gun laws should be? What is it about being a mom that gives you the inherent knowledge of firearms and what the firearm law should be? That's a question I have yet to hear an answer to from groups such as Moms Demand Action and all these other gun control activists that say, well, moms support this. Because I can tell you right now, there are a lot of moms that do not support gun control either. My partner and I don't agree on gun control, but that doesn't stop us from coming together and teaching our kids about guns and gun safety. Well, it sounds like your partner should be the one primarily teaching the kids about guns and gun safety. Just saying. While I would be perfectly fine with locking up all guns till the end of time, your words and everyone else, bear in mind that simple sentence right there. My partner and I believe, my partner likes guns and believes that owning them guns is a constitutional right that should stick around forever. Okay, you notice how she said her partner believes it's a constitutional right. It's a constitutionally protected right. If you read the Second Amendment, that's very clear. Now, gun control advocates will pretend that the first part of the Second Amendment somehow means gun control is okay, or they'll say that it's really a right for the government to arm its own private militia, or its own militias, or its own armies. Well, in Article 1 of the Constitution, the power is enumerated to Congress to raise armies and call forth a militia. So, it's pretty far-fetched to believe that the founders, who didn't put anything about gun control in the Constitution, would give Congress the power to raise an army and to call forth a militia, and all of a sudden realize they needed the power to arm those armies and militia, while there's no enumerated power for the federal government anywhere for gun control, or gun restrictions, or firearm laws, or weapons restrictions of any sort in the Constitution, yet they have the power to do that, and it's somehow implied, but they have to actually have an amendment in there to arm their own soldiers. Come on, give me a break. Let's be reasonable here, okay? Really. Well, we both disagree. Both of us want to teach our son that guns are not toys. Well, you know what? That's a completely honorable thing. Firearms are not like toy guns. They are not a part of a game where no one ever really truly dies. Obviously, and are to be handled with the utmost care, if ever at all. Okay, you know what? I agree with the utmost care. I do disagree with the if ever at all part. I believe that, parents should teach their children how to handle firearms. And part of that means taking them out to the range and letting them shoot the firearms. Obviously being there to supervise them. And obviously when they come of the right age and the right responsibility. See, doing that will take out all the mystique and potential for misinformation of what a firearm really is. We want our son to decide for himself how he feels about guns and how they should be legislated by the government. What you're about to disprove this very statement. And as a pro-gun control mom, I hope my stance will help my son realize these 11 lessons about guns and responsibility. We don't have to agree on gun. Yeah, you're about to disprove your statement right there. We don't have to all agree on gun control, but we hope our children learn these valuable, important lessons. Au contraire, my Desert Eagle chambered in 50 Action Express is very cool. You see how that works? That's a subjective opinion. Now, yeah, if you're going to own a firearm, you need to know how to operate it safely. But it doesn't take years and years and years of training to do so. And it doesn't take a whole bunch of gun control laws to ensure that happens. And quite frankly, if somebody has the opinion, I only want to have this Desert Eagle because, some Hollywood actor had one in a movie and it was cool, as long as they're not hurting anybody, whose business is that of yours? It's none of your business. Okay, in the firearms community, we joke around sometimes about our, firearms being big boy toys. But nobody seriously takes them as toys, as in such as Hot Wheel cars or Tonka trucks. We understand that when misused, there are very serious consequences. But let's go on to see what you say. It's easy to think that guns are more like toys than actual weapons. Maybe in the gun control community, certainly not in the gun rights community. We see them in our video games where, in parentheses, people are shot with them and receive extra lives after they die. Okay, you have to be absolutely retarded to think that how things work in video games will work in real life just because you saw it on a video game or in a movie for that matter. In fact, another part of the conversation, my buddy who is a law enforcement officer and I had today was, the issue with people who I get the strong feeling they're of the gun control persuasion, more of the gun rights persuasion, say, why can't you just shoot them in the leg or, stuff like that, not aimed to actually kill them. These are people who I think get their information more from movies than a lot of us gun rights advocates and a lot of us self-defense advocates. See, you don't shoot a gun out of somebody's hands. And in real life, if you're being attacked with somebody, regardless if they have a firearm or not, when you're shooting, you're aiming center mass. You don't have time to sit there and focus on that moving arm or moving leg. No professional in the world does that. Let's continue on. I haven't become accustomed to associating a gun with a game. Again, you might get a gun because, you saw it on a video game and you thought it was a real cool gun that you just had to have. But I don't think, just because of that, you're going to think, oh, cool, I got a gun. It's just the same as I saw on the video game. Bang, bang, bang. No. And quite frankly, again, as I've said before, if somebody wants to buy a firearm or own a firearm just because they saw it on a video game and they think it's cool, as long as they're not hurting anybody, I don't have an issue with that. And I don't think any sane or rational human being would. And again, they're to be taken seriously and handled respectfully, you know. And if they're not, something dangerous and life-threatening is bound to happen. Well, obviously. But that doesn't justify having more firearms laws. And quite frankly, the people that do buy firearms, just because they saw them on video games, most of the times do have the sense. Obviously, they're spending the money on it, and they have enough money to spend on that legally. They do have the sense to know that these things aren't toys. The funny thing about this is that every time I hear somebody say that being a member of society requires sacrifice, it's usually them telling somebody else to sacrifice something that is theirs or that they value. It never seems to be about the person saying it actually having to sacrifice something that's theirs or something that they value themselves. It's always about somebody else needing to sacrifice. If you want to be, or if you want to enjoy the benefits of being part of society, then you have to sacrifice for that society. Well, that's true, but in a free society, you're supposed to be really free to choose on how much involved in that society you really are. Just thought I'd throw that out. Just to a degree at least, anyway. That's why we pay taxes for roads, police officers, and fire departments, even though we don't own a car or ever had our house go up in flames. Interesting fact here. Yeah, we pay taxes for roads. A lot of that is incorporated into the taxes you pay at the gas pump. A lot of actually that price of that gas you pay is going to taxes. And that's primarily what they use for the roads. And you mentioned fire departments. Well, hey, most of us have fire extinguishers in our home, and if you don't, you're stupid. Even though we have fire departments. But something you fail to mention is that some of us have guns in our homes, and we have concealed carry permits and carry firearms, even though we have police. Because, like the fire department, police aren't going to show up the second you call them. If you get a chance to call them and you're a victim of a crime. If we like feeling safe. Now, here's where you show the mark of a self-centered individual right here. That line right there is the mark of a self-centered individual. Feeling safe. Now, again, you're talking about legislating for your feelings, what makes you feel safe. You couldn't give a damn about what makes somebody else feel safe. And by the way, legislating based on somebody's feelings is not the mark of a free society. You don't have a right to any feeling at all. And to pretend that you do so, is incredibly self-centered and incredibly unrealistic. Moreover, you might legislate somebody else out of actually being safe. When you do that, you might actually end up legislating somebody else out of the tool that they use to protect themselves, such as in the case of Carol Brown. And to the author, I would implore you do a good Google search on Carol Brown and read a few of the articles that come up about her. Yeah, a lot of good your gun laws did for her. Sometimes that means putting more restrictions on a pastime to ensure that people don't use that pastime to hurt others. Well, guess what? Those restrictions have at best been proven to be ineffective. And at worst, well, they have deprived other people of tools that they might have been able to use to possibly protect their own lives. And as always, restricted the liberty of millions of law-abiding citizens who weren't going to use that pastime to hurt anybody at all. You just, in your previous lesson, advocated the government pass laws to make you feel safe. And now you're saying that we're just defending a, quote, luxury? Fuck you. I'm going to address this. People being safe going about their lives to work, school, shopping, or to the movie theater. Well, guess what? Your gun laws haven't proven to be very successful at keeping people safe. And in fact, you mentioned just school, gun-free zones. You're talking about shopping. I take it you're talking about the Clackamas Mall in Oregon. Another gun-free zone. Or a movie theater, or the movie theater. I take it you're talking about the Aurora massacre. Another gun-free zone. Funny how these mass murderers tend to target the areas where there's a good chance that there's no law-abiding citizens there that's going to shoot back for some reason. Trumps another person's love of shooting tin cans in their backyard. I guess it obviously trumps their choice on how they protect their life, too, in your eyes. Gun control means that, yes, it will be more difficult and time-consuming to obtain a gun legally. To the point where it could cost you your life, such as with the case of Carol Brown. That means more people will be another thing that's been proven to be untrue and feel, I guess people like you will feel safe, but again, you just got through arguing luxury. Feelings fall more into the luxury category especially when you're advocating government use force to give you that feeling. So, again, fuck you for being such a hypocrite. Let's go on to the next one. Great. So, perhaps, instead of listening to people who throw around terms like assault weapon and Saturday Night Special as if they're actual legitimate terms, or listening to people who say you can shoot down a 747 with a 50 BMG, or listening to people who seem to think you can sneak one of these through a metal detector. You can't. I assure you cannot do it. Or, listening to somebody who, begrudgingly puts a firearm in his hand and, begrudgingly goes skeet shooting, to prove to everybody else, especially the fudders, that he's one of them. I don't know, somebody like you listen to firearms enthusiasts, vets, other actual professionals. as opposed to people who never handle a firearm in their life before, or again, as I say, begrudgingly do so. What do you know? I kind of fall into that category. I know I'm a firearms enthusiast. I probably wouldn't have 50 guns if I wasn't, or a vet. But then again, you know what? Being in an air assault infantry platoon, I guess we really never used our guns all that much. Okay, a little sarcasm there. But hell, if you don't take my word for it, I mean, there's plenty of us out there. Hell, Dom Rasso was a veteran Navy SEAL. If you really want to go that far, and he's also an NRA commentator. Listen to him if my experience isn't good enough. It's certainly better than listening to what you hear from people like Shannon Watts and Michael Bloomberg. Glad you brought that up. You see, because the act of me, as well as millions of other law-abiding citizens owning an AR-15, no matter how easily we acquired it, doesn't harm anybody. In fact, actually, the act of a 13-year-old convicted felon who's diagnosed with every violent mental disorder on the books, purchasing online a Select Fire M4 with a 10-inch barrel, sound suppressor, grenade launcher, tricked out with optics, 100 magazines that are 100 beta magazines, let's put it that way, at thousands of rounds of 5.56 and hundreds of 40 millimeter grenades for that grenade launcher, doesn't harm anybody. Now, what that 13-year-old convicted felon with the mental disorders might do with that, it's a different story. But the act alone doesn't harm anybody, just the same as legal firearm ownership, in which you don't have to prove a genuine need or get a license for, or go through all these hoops, just to get a firearm. Doesn't harm anybody. So, really, you're the one who's doing the real advocating of infringing on other people's freedoms. When you advocate the use of government force in order to enact those gun laws that make you feel safe. I should say feel safe, You're the one harming other people. And you know what? Everyone has the right to life. We live in an imperfect world. Because somebody dies in a car accident means we need more car regulation now? Yeah. Because somebody could drown in a swimming pool, you're now going to enact more stringent pool regulation? Give me a break. Give me a break. Let's go on to your next point. No, you don't want to ban guns, you just want to make them impossible to own. You don't remember the first part of this article? The part where you disagreed with your husband or your partner on this, and you said if you had it your way, guns would be locked up till the end of time. Imagine that. And the fact of the matter is that we've seen what happens in other countries. When gun control advocates get their way, they never seem to be satisfied. Hell, even in America, or No, I take that back. We gun owners are imagining things.
Guns will be taken.
Yeah, no one will be able to be armed. We will take all
Yes,
weapons.
Yes, that did happen. Yes, in the U.S. And yes, in a time and place where those people needed those guns probably then more than any time in their life. And you know what? It didn't disarm any criminals. It didn't stop the chaos from ensuing. All it did was leave law-abiding citizens defenseless. And you know what? That's not the only place in the U.S. where gun confiscations have happened. New York, California, 2 states to name. And you know what? Their crime rates ain't so great. But moreover, I don't care if you're trying to ban all guns, one guns, etc. The fact of the matter is that your proposals haven't shown any results. Except for to disarm law-abiding citizens. And at best show really no change in crime, and at worst give the criminals a good leg up in their preferred industry by leaving a target-rich environment. And I mean, that's ignoring the fact that you've deprived law-abiding citizens of liberty. But let's go on to your article. Gun control does not mean eliminating all guns, contrary to the prevalent opinion. Well, no. You're going to do it bit by bit. You know, you said in your article again that you'd love to see all guns locked up until the end of time. And just because a pro-gun control mom is in favor of title legislation, which you'll always be, it doesn't matter what the legislation is. It doesn't matter what the laws on the books already are. You're always going to be in favor of title legislation. How do you think the UK, and Australia got to where they are at? And by the way, the Independent a few months back announced that Britain's gun controls, as tight as they were still too lax and insane, as they put it. And I believe in Australia they're talking about knife control now. So, it never ends. And you wonder why we see you for the way you are. You wonder why some people would say, well, you're going to take our guns. Well, it's because we know better. Let's see. Let's go on to your next point. Good. Tell that to all your anti-self-defense friends who suggest, well, just shoot them in the leg or shoot the gun out of their hand next time. See, the fact of the matter is that nobody outside the gun control movement, from what I can understand or see, seems to think that movies, TVs, and video games are real life. I hate to break it to you, but, well, I don't know why I said I hate to break it to you. But the fact of the matter is that for those of us who do have a concealed carry license, who are gun rights advocates, etc., we understand we live in an imperfect world and things don't go down like you see in the movies. Why can't you gun control advocates get it? Okay, just about every advertising agency I know of uses sex to sell. They do it with alcohol. They do it with tobacco. They do it with clothing. They do it with just about everything except for maybe children's toys, or products that are meant for children. So why are you singling out the firearm industry on that? And by the way, you're talking to most gun enthusiasts like me. Yeah. I know having a gun ain't gonna make me sexy all of a sudden. I already am. So, what's your point? You need to take that advice yourself. You need to actually stop listening to groups like Moms Demand Action, Everytown, the Brady Campaign, and so on. You need to actually listen to real firearms enthusiasts, such as myself. Because you know what? This is a very big problem. The fear-mongering. Because see, the biggest fear-mongering I've seen has come from the gun control side of this. When I hear things such as, you can shoot down a 747 with a 50 BMG from a mile away, who's fear-mongering here? When you can sneak this through a metal detector, which you can't, and again, I've touched on this earlier, who's really fear-mongering? When you hear that we've had as many mass shootings as days in the years, which we haven't, who's really fear-mongering here? I think you, yourself, need to get more knowledgeable and stop being afraid. So, in conclusion, you want to have an open and honest discussion, then that means you're going to have to be open and honest. What is this really to you? Are you really concerned about real safety, or have you just been fear-mongered? Are you really honest about having an open and honest discussion, or are you just so certain that you want more gun control that nothing else matters to you? This is your choice to make.